Would you please introduce yourself more?
Thank you, Nashwa. Thank you, Omar, for having me in this forum. So I'm Karim. I'm the CEO and founder of Yodawy. I'm a computer scientist by education. After my computer science studies and studying and working for a couple of years, I decided to switch careers and move to management consulting. So I joined Booz and Company initially in Munich for a few years and then Dubai. And then since 2016, I've been in Egypt, pretty much focusing on the family business, and then later kind of started Yodawy, which is a pharma platform basically that connects pharmacies, insurance companies, and obviously offers the consumers a much easier way to order and use their insurance card.
Out. So, if I talk about 10 years back, the patient support program as a concept used to be the patient affordability programs or the patient access programs. What the companies can do for patients to enhance or facilitate getting the medications or getting it with different prices or access models. And this sometimes it's a company initiatives and sometimes it's regulatory requirements that the company has to do to implement it and to control it as well, because PSP, as we all know, one of the most sensitive in terms of compliance as well, especially for pharmaceutical industry. So it has to be very well controlled. And after that, we started to hear different patient supported programs strategies and the designs, which is customizing some services around the patient needs. But still, it's around the medication, the disease area, or in terms of different, according to the therapy area, to the patient, to as well the budget that the pharmaceutical company wants to spend in this regard. Why it's so important, why it's pharma now are willing to invest more in this area, and why only 5% of patients are able to get the benefit of patient support program. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for the intro, Nashwa. So first, maybe a first caveat, bear in mind it's a computer scientist looking at patient support programs. So I can only kind of give you the assessment from my vantage point and give you maybe the kind of the impression I got from the interactions we've had with pharma companies over the last 2 years here in Egypt, more specifically. I don't actually have experience outside of Egypt on this topic specifically. So, is there a need for patient support program? Absolutely. So, if you look at a country like Egypt, where out-of-pocket spend on healthcare is more than 60%, right? Means people are pretty much paying themselves for healthcare. It makes sense, right? Either you have an insurance card, or you have some form of program that's covering your medical expenses, or you don't. And if you don't, you can either afford your treatment, or again you don't. And I think there's a very big segment here in Egypt that needs affordable access to medications that otherwise they would not be able to get access to. And that's kind of the very simple reasoning as to why these programs have to exist. Now, the need is there. I believe the execution from the pharma companies to this day is still at kind of the first level, let me put it this way. I think generally it was approached either as at least you can see it was built up over time as a quick marketing initiative or a quick kind of project-based, team-based initiative, as opposed to more of a holistic company strategy, more of a platform approach. And so if you ask me, the problem set itself already exists in other industries. It's just that the pharma companies, I think to this day, are still approaching it in a different way. And more specifically, for patients to be able to access medications and get subsidies on these medications or any kind of financial support is already a problem that was solved by insurance companies. And so pharma
Yeah.
companies really don't need to reinvent the wheel there. There's a network of medical providers, whether it's kind of pharmacies or investigation centers, lab and radiology, that offer services to a specific subset of patients at a discounted price, at a subsidized price, or whatever. And there's some form of financial reconciliation with whoever the payer is. Could be a pharma company, could be someone else. And so, really, kind of this process infrastructure has already actually exists in Egypt in many for insurance companies, and it's one of the things that Yodawy is actually doing for insurance companies at the moment. Instead of the pharma company having to go and agree with a certain population of doctors to enroll the patients or give them some form of token or identifier to be able to enroll, and then go contract a third party teleconsultation or a call center service that the patient needs to call, and then go to a network of medical providers in order for the patient to get the service, and agree on some reconciliation process by which the patient gets some discount that the medical provider is able to claim later. All of this can be connected into one digital platform where basically you have a platform like Yodawy or like any other kind of digital startup in the ecosystem that can connect pharmacies, can connect doctors, can connect the patient himself, and has the back office capabilities to carry out complicated calls at scale that can follow inclusion criteria and apply them on behalf of pharma companies. And so, in my view, kind of we can take and almost replicate all the know-how, all the process infrastructure of insurance companies and apply it to patient support programs. And what is left there is then the personalized communication that comes on top, which I will dare say, and maybe a lot of people will not be happy with me, but based on the programs that I've seen so far, it's a lot of the kind of communication plans that are attached to patient support programs are just either too irrelevant, too big, not personalized for the patient himself, end up being a little bit mechanical, a little bit irrelevant. You feel like a call center agent has to deliver or read out a message. It's not, in my view, fitting of something that's happening in 2021, almost 2022 now. So a lot of the content, in my view, can be delivered through digital. You can send people YouTube links and they can watch whatever they want or they don't watch. So a lot of the delivery itself of these communication plans is also suboptimal, but the content itself needs to be a lot more precise, a lot lighter for the ordinary person to be able to digest. That's kind of my first kind of view on PSP. I think that's a complicated question. I'll tell you honestly my view on personalization and not to be a pessimist, but I think very often kind of the first step towards a digital program is a very simple MVP or minimum viable product, right? And if you try to personalize or add too many features, typically these programs kind of fail, and we've seen so many kind of fail in the process just because someone wants to come in with a big promise, or they want to change the world in 3 months, or kind of these, and a very typical kind of corporate pitfall in my view. I think at this stage, personalization is important just by giving people choice. Really, if you send me as simple as 10 different YouTube videos and I just watch the one I like, that's already personalization enough, as opposed to having a call center agent read out 7 minutes worth of guidelines, right? It's I think the key here is really to start very simple, start at the basics, right? And I think instead of kind of going for keywords like AI or I don't know, deep learning, or just the stuff that people say without actually any practical kind of software development implications. And I would, at this stage, I think at this stage, when it comes to PSP and digital, we're still in the infrastructure stage. So it's not exactly about how we engage the patient. It's about how are we connected to the medical providers? How do we ensure that there's no fraud or abuse in a country like Egypt? So it's much more fundamental questions. I would say infrastructure, rather than having some artificial intelligence that's talking to the patient, right? That's not where we are. That's not where the industry is. That's not even where the technology is at the moment. And so again, I think the key is to start very simple, not to overload these programs with complicated requirements, and just focus on the most basic version of the process working very well. I think the starting point is how patients enroll in patient support programs, right? That's the point of failure in many programs. Who qualifies? How do you verify that they do actually qualify? And just having a better cooperation framework with medical providers for enrollment. I think this is really the first step in the chain that has to be fixed. And I would argue it starts at digitizing medical records. So instead of uh, patients basically being told in the doctor's office they qualify for enrollment, would you like to enroll? Would you do this? There is some automatic detection for who enrolls, just aggregating databases of medical providers together with maybe public databases and having some kind of automated approach towards enrolling patients to patient support programs. And I think this will increase the numbers significantly. You'll be able to choose the patient, not be subjected to basically people coming in to request to enroll. I think that's a kind of a dramatic shift. I would argue possibly already happening somewhere else in the world. Again, I only have Egypt as a data point. So that's one. Two, I think the engagement interface in general will obviously go digital. Instead of having to receive any kind of call, instead of you'll be able to chat, you'll be able to get maybe a landing page that is personalized to you, that has all the content that you care about. Medication delivery services will flourish everywhere in the world. You'll not have to go to a pharmacy. You'll not have to go at least like here in Egypt, exchange boxes and so on. So all of this
Yeah,
will be completely streamlined, and the patient will basically be enrolled while he is at home,
yeah,
and get his stuff at home, and everything will be seamless. That's really how I see kind of the customer journey. Even the home labs and all of this can be delivered at home if economic for the patient. So it's a very big combination between home care services in general and just having a solid infrastructure for financial reconciliation with the medical providers. Not being limited to a specific medical provider is also very, very important. To be completely open, democratized, so a platform where, regardless of where you go, you will be identified and you will be given the opportunity to.
Karim, if you have anything to add, please go ahead.
No, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure talking to you, Nashwa. And well, I look forward to working with more people who are keen to advance the topic. And thank you very much for having me.